You didn't.
Beautiful. If you can still hear us, okay, Colin, I think it would be great if I heard everything. So if one of you wants to go back to just kind of give an idea of what was the last thing you heard, maybe a phrase, or if anybody wants to pop that in, that would be amazing. So we know where to go back to.
Shall I do a quick summary?
Yeah, that would be great. A quick summary is perfect. Yeah. Then we don't have to rack our brains.
Yeah, then it kind of creates a flow of information. Like I said, Stargates the name Stargate is a bit of a misnomer, but it was named after, various things happened in our history, and then there was a movie called Stargate, and so that's what popularized the name Stargate. But a Stargate is basically a vortex of energy between one time-space continuum and another. It's like I said, it's like a drain in your plug. The water goes down, so it's your water's going from one dimension down to a lower dimension. It goes through the plug and then it gets drained out. So in a sense, that Stargate of the water plug is the vortexing of energy that goes into the drain and is transported somewhere else. So that's what Stargates in essence are. They're just a vortex of energy that transports beings from one place to another. Now, if you look at any vortex, you have the energy spiraling around the vortex as it does in a tornado or a hurricane. Then at the center of the Stargate, you have the center point, the still point. And that still point is what they call the no time, no space still point. So in that still point, all things are simultaneous. It suspends all the energy around it so that energy is suspended and it no longer has an effect on what's happening in the still point. And the still point exists irrespective of the energy around it. So every vortex in the universe has a still point. And we are on an energy vortex ourselves because we travel 948 million kilometers around the sun every day. We might travel 31,000 miles around the Earth at the equator in nearly 24 hours of time space. But we're not aware of the movement of everything around us because the circadian rhythms of the universe hold everything in constant proportion to everything else. So we're not aware of the changing seasons. Most of us, we live in cities, but if you live in the country, you become very aware of the sun going up and the sun going down. For instance, if you're a farmer, you're aware of the change of the seasons. When summer comes and winter comes, because your whole life and lifestyle revolves around the changing of the seasons that happen. Now, in our lives, we are in that kind of change, constant change, but we are not aware of it. So, in a sense, moving people out of the rural areas into cities has created their consciousness so they become unconsciously aware that they are moving all the time. So this technology of Stargates, vortex energy, is everywhere around us, not only in the Earth, the Earth spiraling around the sun, but all the planets in our solar system are spiraling around the sun. But there's another myth on this planet that we all circulate around the sun on a single plane. Well, that's not true. We hold our constant ratio of connection to the sun and to each other, and we are all spiraling around the sun. The sun spirals around the galaxy, and the galaxy spirals around the universe. And the spiraling motion creates all these still points. And it's the still point which suspends all time and space in that particular zone that allows consciousness to move instantaneously from one time-space continuum to another. Now, that's the basic mechanics of it, but in order to activate stargates, so-called stargates on our planet, I talked about the dialing up process. So if you're holding a cell phone and someone's on another part of the planet is holding a cell phone, in order to connect to that person, you have to dial up their number on your cell phone, and that sends a certain ringtone at a certain frequency to the other person's phone. So they know you want to connect to them, and as soon as they answer, bang, instantly you are connected with the other person. Okay. So Stargates work in the same way, in that the dial buttons on the cell phone are called Q sites. It's the way we dial into the Stargate in order to go to where we want to go. The Stargate can't operate, won't transport anybody if you haven't done the dial-up sequence. So everyone who wanted to transport through the Stargate had to have a couple of things. So one, they had to have the dial-up sequence of where they wanted to go. They also had to hold sufficient activation of DNA in their soul codes, okay, in order for them to go into higher dimensions, because there's some Stargates which will transport you planet, they're called Earth Stargates. They will transport you from one part of the Earth to the other part of the Earth. The other Stargates will connect you from Earth to other planets in our solar system. The other Stargates that will connect you to the sun or other stars, and so on. And so Stargates are quite a complex transport system, just like, for instance, our railways. You have to, if you're going from country to country and you buy a ticket, you have to have a passport in order to get through passport control. And our passport in going through Stargates are the soul codes we hold in our soul bodies. Mm-hmm. So if you have sufficient soul codes in your soul bodies that are activated, and we activate them through our experiences and through the energy that we hold, our thought energy and emotional energy, we put that into higher frequencies, we can then enter a Stargate and go to a higher dimension, because we hold that Stargate, because we've activated the DNA. And we need to activate at least 4.5 strands of DNA to go from dimensions 1, 2, and 3 to dimensions 5. But we activate that in our soul bodies, not in our physical bodies, because once we transport it to the other side and we have our soul codes intact, our soul codes will then produce the body for the 5th dimension, which is a plasma body. So it's not physically dense body, but a plasma body. But that's the power of the soul. The soul actually has the template for the physical body. It's the soul that produces the body, not the other way around. Okay. Now, this is quite a complex system, but I've covered it in the construct of the soul, in healing the soul. So, it's got the detail there of how that actually works and how it comes about. So go ahead, Gaz.
So Colin, I want to understand, just to go back to the dial-up system, because before you popped on, they were talking about, Alan brought up a question about Q sites. And to me, many of us, that's a new term. So I would say in the past, and this, I'm trying to understand like how this dial-up system is working. This is directly, like if I'm, let's say I'm doing grid work. So I'm working in the ley lines or working in interplanetary systems, something like that. I always basically say just to use my own energy signature. And so when I use that terminology, does that feel like using your own energy signature is the same thing as a Q code? And because that's how I would go and open up different areas or move into different things, and then it releases different information. And then this brings me into another question, is the planetary stargates being connected to, because if we just keep it simple and look at the 12 tree grid or the human template in this aspect, would that hook us into, automatically hook us into the different tribes? So the 12 tribes are then hooking us into what planets and what areas of the universe and planets that these tribes are attached to. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, quite. The dial-up codes are contained within your soul codes. So it's just, once they're there, you can activate them. So that's how beings used to travel around the universe, because, and the travel was instantaneous. That's how higher dimensional beings can appear instantly on planet Earth, because they already hold the soul codes of the consciousness of the planet, because they've probably been here, or they contributed their DNA to us, and we hold that DNA in our soul codes, okay, and in our physical bodies. So there is an instant connection. So you can't go into the Stargate and want to go to dimensions 10, 11, and 12 if you don't have the appropriate soul codes. So before you can enter the Stargate, you will be told you don't have the sufficient soul codes in order to do, so you can't dial into this portal. There won't be any connection. So beings who advance to the stage of being human would be able to travel through these Stargates. But it wasn't just humans, but generally it was humans, because animals generally don't have sufficient soul codes in order to go through portals, through this portal system.
Except for cats. Can't they kind of do whatever the hell they want?
Yeah, I should have added that certain animals are capable of traveling through Stargates, but generally animal species or bird species don't have the soul codes. But for instance, dragons have the soul codes to travel portals. Praying mantises hold the soul codes in order to transport. Whales hold the soul codes to travel through Stargate. So it just depends on the frequency that this being has and its connection in its soul codes to where it wants to go. So you can't go where you're not invited, or you have no connection. You can only go to places where you have this connection. So just to explain my own circumstances, when I was learning this and going into higher dimensional spaces, I first had to learn to move my consciousness around planet Earth. And my higher selves who accompanied me on those journeys knew the maps of the ley lines. So they were able to use those for us to travel instantaneously anywhere around the planet. And I loved doing that, because I could go into different places where I could see from outer space, oh, there's Tokyo, there's, Beijing, and there's, because my consciousness was traveling and my consciousness was using the ley line system around the planet. But before I could do that, I had to activate the soul codes in my soul body. So I had to do a lot of toning. That's the activation. Those are the activation codes for our chakras. You know, so chakra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then there are different tones that you use for the higher chakras. They're different. But as I explained before in other videos, that we live in a fractal universe that is based on a universal design and creation template. And it works the same everywhere in the universe. So the sound tone refers to Stargate 1, refers to Chakra 1. So when you want to activate the number 1 in the Stargate, for instance, you would use the tone . And if you wanted to, make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those would be the 5 tones you would use, which would be your conscious projection of your soul energy body into the energy system, because it comes from your chakras 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's basically how we dial into the soul codes, because our chakra 1 is an octave of dimension 1. And so it's all layered in the universe, that it's all associated, that sound tones and frequencies are related on a certain harmonic relationship with other sound tones. Just like with colors, they also related to each other in certain ratios. And in our planet, it's 1.6 to 283, which is the golden mean ratio. And all sound tones in and harmonic have that ratio between them. Okay, and that creates the geometry for us to be able to move through ley lines and so on.
We have a couple of questions, Colin. Sue is asking, she says, I've heard the dark ones will be transferred off planet via portals at Antarctica. Is this correct? And if so, can you, Colin, explain that a little bit more? And how do their physical bodies get transported? Is that something we'll see or be shown?
I don't think we'll see it, but what I'm being told is they're going to be transported on spaceships, interportal, intergalactic spaceships. So they'll be invited to a point or a particular point, or this ship will go around the planet and pick them all up and move them out. We can't see all the spaceships in our physical reality, because we can't resonate at the same frequency of light that they can. So they're much higher frequency, and in order for them to become physical matter, they have to step down their frequency into the frequencies of our time-space continuum, the first dimensions 1, 2, and 3 of our space-time continuum. Then they'll appear as solid matter. They pick people up, they take them off, and then they dial into another frequency, and zoom, they're gone into another space-time continuum. They don't actually travel as a physical vehicle. Their vehicle becomes one with them and with everyone on board, because it reads all their signatures, frequencies, and it evaluates whether they can actually move these beings from one space to another. And so they might have to sort and say some people out and say, listen, you can't go aboard the ship because you're not welcome. You don't have the cell codes in order to go to that space-time continuum. So it's not a simple process that for them to transport people from one space-time continuum to another. But they're able to do that. In fact, they told me in 2003 that they couldn't evacuate planet Earth in a matter of 6 minutes. So
I think we've seen that happen with colonies disappearing, complete cities disappearing, I mean, things like that happen. I think it's
the Mayans just disappeared. The Tartarians just disappeared off our planet.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I saw some interesting stuff with the Tartarian timelines that are related to Antarctica, believe it or not. Okay, so Elizabeth is asking a question. So when we're talking about traveling through Stargates, this is in relation to that. She's asking, is it different from remote viewing, or is that actually traveling using ley lines?
Yeah, remote viewing isn't the same. Remote viewing is actually your conscious projection of your consciousness and your knowingness into a different space-time continuum and observing what you observe there and then bringing that back to this present space-time. So that's really what remote viewing is. I used to be able to do it, but I stopped doing it because I didn't like it. Sometimes I didn't like what I saw.
Not very exciting. And that used to happen to me when I was a kid. I would pop up and see things that I didn't understand. I didn't have much control over myself when I was a kid. So it's a little bit interesting.
Yeah. It is very interesting. And, so I hope this has given people some idea of, how Stargates work, and because there's a lot of mystery about a lot of things on this planet, and I like to clear up the mysteries. But you do have to really study and learn a lot more in order to hold this information as one body of information. You can't separate one part of the information from the other. It all hangs together as one body of information. And I've put up something like 40 or 50 videos on my courses about, all this information. And, because of humans' separation consciousness, that they like to compartmentalize information into different subjects. You get maths and science and history and geography, and biology, and various other languages, and English and Latin. But if from an energetic perspective, they're all the same thing, just different expressions of them. Like speaking words are just sound tones, in a sense. That's all they are. And they have a certain frequency signature. So, and sound tones are carried on a magnetic wave, and the magnetic wave is the emotion. So to master oneself as an energetic, you have to master both your emotions and your thoughts. And if your thoughts are in respect of just the way this world system works, you will never really understand the universe. You have to expand your information, have an open mind, and to see what is out there, and to see what is in nature. If we spent more time in nature, in the natural world, we'd have a better understanding of how the universe works, because nature works beautifully in a synchronistic way to create ecosystems that support one another. Whereas humans have a constant barrage of information that is trying to separate them from each other and from their consciousness. So, that's why so many people want to go and live in the country and live self-sustaining life and get away from this world system, because it is very divisive.
Yeah. And I think designed, the more cities, I notice around here, and I'm in Washington State, so they're building more and more apartments on top of malls and restaurants and like creating little communities where you just have to not walk very far. And and they're building them around like grocery stores. So that way you can go to the grocery store within walking distance. You can go to a restaurant, you can buy your clothes, you can do all these things in really small, compact areas. And I feel like they keep trying to like push this. And then, there's more traffic. And then they say the cities are crowded. There's no room for humans. And I'm like, what about, there's like so much play. There's so much. And it's just amazing to me. But, getting out of the cities would bring us to really back to seeing our source codes, because the way that I see being able to activate Stargates and being able to do, to actualize all of what we're capable of, it's really about understanding that we need to get out of the pain body and heal the first, that's like the sacral chakra, or healing, the energies, rolling up the first harmonic, so our bodies actually physically can change, so we're not living from the aspect of where the controlling groups hook into us. Does that make sense? And they can stay hooked up into us much easier when we live in these kind of areas, because we don't get to see, like you said, the moon. We don't get to see the stars. We don't really connect with nature, and the planet the way that we're designed to.
Yeah, because we haven't been taught how to go within and to connect with the information that's already there. From the moment we're born, we are bombarded with information. We're told this is the way it is. So I remember as a kid thinking, why is this place so strange? This is not where I wanted to be. This place doesn't seem like there's something not right about this planet. All the crap you're telling me, And a lot of people feel that way, that they have been subverted, and I knew that when I was 4 or 5 years old, because things weren't the way that I imagined that they could be or would be. And it was a bit of a shock to me to find out what this world was really like.
Sure was.
I appreciate the journey that I've been on in my own lifetime, but and I think all of that information and those experiences I had all built into, my soul structure. And when I woke up, I had to do a lot of healing within myself. And I learned techniques that you can do to heal, self-observation, healing your memories, healing and changing conditioned behaviors, conditioned thinking, conditioned feelings, so that we become more authentic as who we really are. And it's that authentic being that has the power. When we are conditioned into the world system, then we lose our power, because we live in somebody else's life. We're not living our own lives fully, so there's a lot to learn. I'd just like to tell everybody about the location of what are called the planetary Stargate system, okay? It's Stargate 1, which is also the frequency of chakra 1, dimension 1, is a place called Halley at the South Pole, or Antarctica. Okay, that's Stargate 1. And Stargate 2 is located at Sarasota, Florida. Stargate 3 is located in Bermuda Islands. And Stargate 4 is located at Cairo and was the pyramids at Giza. Okay. Now, Cairo is connected directly to the sun. Stargate 4 is connected directly to the sun and Mars and Nibiru, which are interesting places to go to. But generally, what people who ascend to the Stargate in Giza, would go directly through the sun, which is also a portal, and go to wherever they were going after that. So you kind of go from one station to the other. Sometimes you have to reconnect from one station to the other to get to your destination. There's no direct line all the time between the various Stargates. And then Stargate 5 is at Machu Picchu in Peru. And Stargate 6 is located near Moscow in Russia. Stargate 7 is located at Lake Titicaca in Peru. And Stargate 8 is located at Xi'an, China. It's X-A-I-N, Xi'an, China. Stargate 9 is connected to Barntso, that's B-A-R-N-T-S-O, which is in Tibet, which is also in China, is now China. And then the Stargate 10 is in Abadan, Iran. Okay. Stargate 11 is the Vale of Pusey in South England. And Stargate 12 is located at Monségur in southern France, M-O-N-S-E-G-U-R, Monségur. And all of these Stargates and Q sites are located on ley lines, and ley lines are able to easily transport energy through the air. We call it air, but Nicholas Tesla understood it's not air, it's ether. Ether is life force, and ether spirals. And if we could see the air around us, we would just see spirals of energy around us, but we haven't been taught to do that. But we can learn to be more energy sensitive by observing with a different consciousness. And so we have to develop our consciousness to the level that we see through the things we see what's actually there. Because often the things we see are things we've been told are there when they're not really there. They've been indoctrinated into our consciousness. So we're seeing things that we've been told to see, and we're not seeing what's actually there. This may seem like a bit of a puzzle, but that's why one has to develop a sense of curiosity. You have to have a sense of clairvoyance to see things clearly. And you have to have a sense of clear sentiment. So you have to be authentic, be in integrity with oneself, and then the energy can flow. When two people are standing together, there's actually an energy bond between them. That's why some people can meet somebody and instantly connect with them, feel we have a connection. I can feel your heart beat. And then you meet someone else and there's nothing there. It's because some people are more energetically compatible than others because they run in the same frequencies. But doesn't mean that you're doomed because you can't get this gal or guy because you don't have the same frequency. It just means that you can run frequencies to get up to the same level as each other and connecting that way. So we can change. The possibilities are endless. We don't ever have to think of ourselves as ever stuck in one venue, but we can project ourselves into different other systems or a different space-time continuum if we know how. And it's really just understanding how energy, vortexes, vibration, frequency, and once you have a thorough understanding, it's really very simple because it's just one system that works on very different levels.
We have a couple where Mary has a question, but I wanted to ask you a question before we moved away from the location of the Stargates. So I've read quite a bit of Lisa Renee's work. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but and I'm in doing my own grid work, and we've actually been working with the Arizona Gate quite significantly. We're actually in the middle of a project right now, not Lisa's group, but my own personal group. And I see Stargate 1 as Arizona in Cyprus, and that's how she has it listed as well, north of Sedona, and as well as and then Stargate 2 moves into a different place, so which also will go through Florida, but because they travel through the way they open and travel through different areas. But I'm curious because there's a lot of information out there, and so I'm curious how and where there would be discrepancies, and how can we understand, is Stargate 1 really in Sarasota, Florida, or is it really in Arizona? And I think that there was one other discrepancy that I was curious about, but I don't have a pencil, and so I didn't write it down. But can you help us understand that, Colin?
Yeah, I used to have a map that I developed because of the research and the information that I had. And I had 144 Stargates on the planet in that map, and where they connect to and where they're located and, how they work. But unfortunately, that map got wiped out when one of my hard drives was damaged. So I didn't want to go through that exercise again because it was quite painstaking to do it. But I'm going to be doing that again and collecting all that, because there is a Stargate at Mount Shasta, and there are many others. Stonehenge is a Stargate. In Ireland, there's a Stargate off the coast of Ireland, on one of the small islands there. There's Stargates in Washington, DC. There's Stargates in Seattle.
Yeah, so and this goes into like different kinds. And so this is, I guess, what I want to get into, because there are like main Stargates, then there are other Stargates. So yeah, there's like a Mother Arc Gate here in Seattle. There's 12 of those, and I work with the Mother Arc Gates quite often. And so I guess where the question would lie then is, what Stargates do we? I think Lisa's planetary Stargates are directly connected to the 12 tribes, which is our DNA strands. And then there are other Stargates that open up into other things for other reasons, which brings us into Mary's question of, do the Stargates have their own consciousness? And what effect does their own consciousness have on the distortion and abuse that they were put through? Same as our consciousness. So if you have any insight on how the Stargates would have their own consciousness. And then there's also a question Alan has, I'm just going to toss these all out there because they're kind of the same thing, is aren't we also building new Stargates? Or is the perception of new Stargates just because of the ascension? And then they're coming into view.
Yeah. Stargates owe their location to the fact that they're on a ley line system, and they are that point at which two ley lines connected. So they're the intersecting point between two ley lines of connection. And this planet is filled with different ley lines, literally there are hundreds. when I was doing grid work, I bought a pair of dowsing rods, and I used to walk around my neighborhood finding ley lines. And it's amazing, you walk into an area and I could feel something happening, and suddenly the dowsing rods would open. Or they'd point in a different, one direction. So some are magnetic and some are electric. When they're in the same direction, they're electric. When they're in the opposite direction, they're magnetic. So I started mapping ley lines in my area. Then I found that there were other people in other parts of the world who were doing the same thing. They're grid workers all over the planet. And they started mapping ley lines in their area. Then they started connecting these maps to each other. So it created a composite map of the ley lines. But having said that, when the Earth tilted on its axis 27,000 years ago, it actually distorted the natural organic ley lines on the planet, and a new grid was introduced by the fallen ones here, called the Phoenix and the Falcon grid, because their shapes of the grid looks more like a Phoenix foundation. So it's just like if you take a grid, say a tennis racket, and you're looking through, each little space on the tennis racket between the strings is a grid, okay? And then you just move that tennis racket, you have two tennis rackets, and you move another tennis racket at 23.4 degrees. And what do you notice? All the angles between all the strings is changed and altered. And so if you can imagine the tennis racket being a ley line, when it's tilted at 20, all those ley lines, the orientation of all those ley lines is changed. And so that's how we were disconnected. In a sense, we were dialed out of the universal Stargate system. So that's why Stargates are not active yet, because first of all, people don't know about them, they don't know how to activate them, but we can create portals, like a standing scalar wave is also a portal, because it's a vortex of energy. Anything that's a vortex of energy is a standing scalar wave. Like tornadoes are an example of a standing scalar wave. Hurricanes an example of a standing scalar wave. It's just energy that has that is vortexed, like water in a plug, going down a plug. It's just the action of that water moving from one space to another creates energy. We don't think of it as energy, but if you put your finger in the vortex, you'll feel the force of the water moving around your finger. So that's the energy, it's force. And when everything in the universe is in constant motion and spiraling around each other. And so if we understand that these spirals all interconnect, and the point at which they connect is called a Stargate or a portal. So there's some portals that connect through our bodies. They're called meridian lines in the body. In effect, meridian lines are a replica of a ley line system on the planet. Okay, it's how energy moves from one point to other. And the points, the meridian points, are like stargates, where the energy comes in and it goes to another point in time. It has a different frequency or a specific frequency, and it moves in. It has the dial-up codes, and it's able to move. So acupuncturists know that when somebody's body's out of alignment, they just go and repair the acupuncture points and rebalance them, and that opens up the meridian lines again. And that's just another form of healing. And in this sense, we're all doing that. We are all points of energy. The energy comes in and energy goes out. So we are part of the ley line system on this earth. we don't see that. So when we walk into the Earth's ley line system, we are carrying our own meridian line system with us. And when we align our meridian lines with the Earth's ley lines, then that creates a convergence of energy, so that we literally will change ourselves and change the Earth's ley lines and contribute our energy towards the Earth. Everything in the universe is in service to everything else, but we have forgotten how to be in service to Mother Earth. And that's one way we can serve Mother Earth, is by being part of her ley line grids, and thus transporting energy from one point to another between ourselves, okay? Because we are in harmonic frequency with each other, because we've dialed into each other. Does that make sense?
I love it. Thank you. Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And to know that we're capable of changing and adjusting is hopeful. We're not just stuck and stagnant. And, also, I want to talk just to piggyback on your acupuncture points, and knowing that we're acupuncture points for the Earth. One of the things I like to do for self-healing is really, so I'll look at acupuncture chart, so you know what the chart looks like, and kind of get an idea of where the points are on your body. And I ask myself, I just sit in here, you can just sit in a silent space and say, are any of my acupuncture points clogged? Do any of them need clearing? And we actually have the power within ourselves to clear our own bodies and clear our own meridians. And we can bring in different frequencies, different sound and color tones and different flames to be able to move and we bring it in through our imagination. And we can go through and clear these, and we can set Merkabas in our acupuncture points and spin those open, because sometimes, so they're points for a reason. The points are to activate the movement throughout the meridian system. So being able to self-heal is so very important, and knowing that these points exist on the body. So, and of course, as we go in off the body as well. And to note, the gallbladder is one of the most infiltrated meridians in our body, because it's the only meridian that crosses over into the, oh, my brain is like, just went, joop, joop, joop. That's a technical term, clearly. It moves into the fourth dimension. Somebody help me here. Wow, where did it go? I can only hear the word ascension, and that's not what I'm looking for. Ascension and abyss is all I can hear. Moves into the astral realm. Thank you. So the gallbladder meridian is the only one that moves into the astral realm, and that crosses through the entire body. And you'll notice, I think that that's pretty interesting, because a lot of attachments and programs and stuff get put in through our gallbladder meridian. So that's a really important one to keep cleared and cleansed. So always moving some type of flame energy or some type of Merkaba energy or anything, love, like anything you can think of to move through your meridians will be very helpful in your overall health. Just wanted to add my 2 cents there.
Yeah. No, well, you said it very well. All our organs and everything in our body is interconnected. There's no part of the body that doesn't have some sort of interconnection with another part of the body. It's a magnificent whole. But in the same way, the earth also is a whole body. It has the same chakras we have. It has the ley lines we have in our meridian lines. It has, it's also in constant motion. It also is the soul body that needs to clear out and heal itself. And and Mother Earth wants to heal us, and we should be in service to Mother Earth so that we can heal Mother Earth as well. So yeah, it's just a, you know, people tend to overcomplicate things. When we talk about Stargates, for instance, people have all sorts of imaginations, but they don't actually know what Stargates do, you know, and how they do it. And so I hope I've given everybody some idea of how the Stargates, vortexes, you know, Q sites, and portals work, because it's not really a mystery. It's not meant to be a mystery. We meant to know this information, but it's been hidden from us, so we haven't found it naturally. But I can assure you, beings in other space-time continuum, they find it very natural because they are brought up with this information, and so they're more lucid in the way they are able to transport and move and behave, and you know, and humans. Well, not all humans, that's a pipe dream, but I want as many humans to understand this information so that we have sufficient critical mass of energy on this planet going forward to be able to assist Mother Earth and assist ourselves through this process of ascension, because we're not going to go through the Stargates. The beloveds are going to use the Stargates in the sun to raise the frequencies here, and to create the portal to transmute and transport and transform Earth, the whole of the planet, from where it is now into another space-time continuum. But in a sense, Earth will be bilocated. So there will be two Earths. There will be the new Earth and the old Earth. And a bilocation is just the ability to be in two space-time continuums at the same time. Like I was in my bed at home, and I was also in Sirius B at the same time. But it's where my consciousness or my attention or my focus was determined the experience that I was going to have. So, you know, Earth is also going to be transported through the sun. And people say, well, how's that possible? You know, because the sun's so hot, isn't it going to burn Earth up? No, it's not the physical Earth. It's the consciousness, the soul of Earth. And our souls are impervious to heat, for instance. You know, heat is a physical matter. The soul is not. It's impervious. It's not sensitive to physical matter. It's only sensitive to etheric matter. So, you know, the Earth being transported through the sun is going to be the movement of the etheric Earth from matter Earth to a higher frequency. So it's the soul of Mother Earth that will be transported, and those souls that are physical matter beings, but it's their souls that are transported through the sun, and they will be impervious to the heat of the sun. But the sun also has portals. The sun has stargates. The sun has exactly the same soul structure as humans. It's also a sentient being, and it will know what to do with us in order to deliver us safely into the higher dimension. And when I say higher dimension, it's not, nothing really changes. We don't go anywhere. It's us changing the frequency of our own planet that will change this planet. But at that same time, it's like we're going to go through that portal, but not everyone can go through that portal because they haven't got the soul codes. Many people here have got have got distorted soul bodies, so they won't be able to go through. But if we can, and we get enough people to do this, we'll have enough teachers to get as many as we can out, if they accept what they are, who they are, what they're doing.
Yeah, beautiful. There's a couple of questions. One of the things I want to share is that even if we've had an organ or something removed from the body through any type of surgery or anything like that, it's important to go and heal first from the surgery. So make sure there aren't any symbols or caduceus symbols or any type of implants that could have happened from the time of the surgery. So clearing the body from that, but understanding that even if you don't have a physical organ in the body, that you still energetically carry that signature. So the trauma that would still be held in a heart, your gallbladder, the liver, any of that, it still has a memory. And so we will still treat our physical body as if the organ is still there, and behave accordingly. Also, specifically, I don't know what it is, how much extra pressure it puts on a man's heart, but I know for a woman, removing the gallbladder puts extra pressure on her heart. So then she's more apt to have more heart issues. And so perhaps that's something, I only know that because of the direct correlation of my mom having a gallbladder removed, and it created more stress on her heart, and she then had a heart attack. And so energetically, we went in to look at some of these things, but keeping in mind what organs are supportive of other aspects of our body, and know where to give extra support in the body. But, treating our system just as if we have those organs is important to do. So we pretend it's still there. We feel it consciously because it's still going to be there on the soul and spirit level, and then moving into the avatar level as well. So I hope that clears some stuff up. We had direct messages here. And Colin, Mary is still saying, do the Stargates have a consciousness?
Yeah, they do, but it's an AI consciousness. In other words, it's just like, it looks like a ring, okay? So they are round. And it's like it's in Switzerland. His name just escaped me. Switzerland, France. That's in
CERN.
CERN, that's it. Thank you, Dan. And CERN, what are they doing? They're moving electrons around in a circle. So, okay, what they're hoping to do is create a spiral of energy and create a Stargate, okay, a portal to transport the fallen ones to somewhere else where they want to go without permission, because they're a bunch of marauders, pirates, and thieves. But so in a sense, that's how Stargates operate, okay? It's by circulating energy around a ring in a circular motion, but contained within a tube or some sort of conductive material that keeps the moving, but it has to create an electromagnetic field around it, so that it has to have a coil, an electromagnetic coil. And once you get the flow of energy around that, you can use that energy to feed it into a system that has a program. So you can program Stargates. And that's essentially what Stargates are. They're AI consciousness, but they're not natural. They're not natural in the sense that they're not naturally made. Okay, these technologies were introduced billions of years ago in order to assist beings to travel from one planet to another, one star to a planet or whatever. But they're not conscious beings like human beings, but they have AI consciousness.
It's like, that sounds like when the Dracos, like, would that be like ripping a hole in time? So wouldn't that create, is that like a black hole or a wormhole? Or is that different?
What was the first part of your question? I missed it, sorry.
When we were invaded to begin with, there was they ripped through our time-space continuum from another place, creating their own. So is that the same thing? Would that be called a black hole? Or is that just a Stargate like you're explaining?
It wasn't a black hole, but what it was just a distortion of the grid lines on the planet.
Mm.
So the Earth lost its natural ability to feed energy from the Earth to all the planets, because each planet had a kind of, from the sun, it went into the North Pole, then out of the South Pole, connect with the South Pole, and the next planet go out to South Pole, connect to the North Pole, the next planet, and so on. So you had this continuous flow of energy, which doesn't work because Mercury's magnetic poles are already reversed, so they're not in north-south alignment anymore. And Earth's magnetic poles were shifted so that we're not in alignment with the rotational spin of the Earth. So it was a physical attack on an etheric body, which is the Earth was, it is still, but it just misaligned the way energy flows in from the north and goes out to the south. It's not coming to the south. In fact, the North Pole is about 23 degrees, west of the South Pole and east of the North Pole. So you've got this energy misalignment. It's like having a television set, and you can't quite tune into a program, so you see a distorted image because you're not tuned in directly. So that's what happened to Earth. Our image got distorted, and we didn't know who we were. We didn't know what we were. And we kind of lost our connection to the natural Earth. So we can reclaim it. There's so many ways nature can serve us to do that. Are you joking there? Sorry.
Yeah, I loved my coffee a little too much there. Sucked it right in.
Yeah, and if we spend time with animals in nature, animals are extremely intelligent beings. We don't think of them as being intelligent, but they're intelligent in the sense that they're far more intelligent than humans because they don't judge humans, they don't judge each other, they don't have mass wars against each other, they don't kill each other like humans do. They kill each other for survival, only to eat. They don't willy-nilly go around killing other beings. And they also kill to protect, like a snake will, if you in its path on its way home and you step on it, it's going to bite you to protect itself. So nature can teach us that it's okay to protect yourself. It's okay, to do the things that are natural. And we just don't do that here.
No, but we're going to. I think we're going to. So
yeah,
I think what's coming is beautiful. And
the consciousness of the planet is changing rapidly. I can see it because I remember what it was like, 50 years ago, and compare that to where we are now. It's like chalk and cheese.
Mary, do you have a question? And then I think we'll probably wrap it up here.
Yeah, sorry about this, that it's all come so late. It's this idea of needing to go in or around the Stargates to rescue body parts or things like this. And if they are AI, that leaves me feeling a little bit queasy. Can you elucidate a bit for me, please, Colin? Thank you, dear.
Yeah. Well, it is a little creepy because that's how the Stargate system was taken over by the fallen angelics. They understood that if they held the codes in order to operate the Stargate, just like operating a computer system, you have to have a password, coding the programming. So they were able to hijack the Stargates here. So they rendered them inoperable, and they damaged Q sites so that Q sites no longer work. So that's why we don't have Stargates here. But in a natural system, that's the way Stargates work. But you're quite right. One has to be very careful about being portaled or being, if a spaceship lands and it says, "Hey guys, we're going to take you up into a new new place and whatever place they want to take us up. I wouldn't just go without knowing who these people were, what they were doing, where they came from, where they intend taking us, the people. We had that right. And the trouble is people are sheep-like. They go with it. So if the herd goes aboard the spaceship, they're going to go aboard that spaceship.
I always say, don't get on the bus.
Yeah.
Don't get on the bus.
If someone offers me a portal, because sometimes I haven't had this experience myself, but some other people have told me about, they were standing at a wall and suddenly they saw the circular motion of the wall and they realized that they were at a portal and something in their consciousness was telling them to walk through that portal to go somewhere else. And they almost went because they wanted the journey. They thought this would be quite exciting. But that is really not very smart because you don't know what's on the other side. And so we have to be careful about, offering our consciousness to portals that we don't want to go through or don't want to be.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Because then you also don't know what kind of contract comes with that or if you'll be able to make your way back home again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a two-way system.
So if I was to send, because the dragons know what they're doing with them, as you mentioned earlier, so I can send dragons to go and get my body, any body parts that may be connected with any of these Stargates then.
Do you want that one, Colin, or do you want me to take that one?
Anybody.
Well, it's not your body that actually goes. It's your consciousness, your soul body, your energy. So you are transported energetically through an energy system, and your soul body holds all the codes for materializing your physical body. So on the other side, when you get to the other side, you will then be able to recreate your body at the level of the destination that you're in. So, for instance, if you go to the Zeta Reticula in a Stargate, you will look like a Zeta Reticula on the other side.
Yes. Gathering, so when we gather body parts, those are consciousness pieces. And those consciousness pieces then will integrate as they need. And your question, Mary, can you just send a dragon to get it? Well, what dragon are you sending? Is your avatar a dragon? Are you connected to dragon consciousness? And ask those questions first. As you know, dragon consciousness, dragon bodies span multiple timelines and can get quite a bit done rather quickly. But I still would be mindful in just sending a dragon about to go fetch something, not knowing what they're going to fetch. So for me personally, I would connect to my higher self, the highest level of self that I can, and allow that aspect to fetch me. And if you have assistance, you can always ask for facilitation assistance from your teams and go hire, or somebody who knows how to help accomplish that as well. So I hope between the two of us that that makes sense.
Yeah, when I was first waking up, I said to my higher selves, wow, now I've got this all explained to me. I'd like to go here and go there. And I said, well, are you going to do that? And I told them that, I would do the toning, dial-up sequence and, enter the through, allow my consciousness to go into the portal and dial up and go through. They said, you don't want to do that. And I said, why? They said, because you don't really know what's on the other side. And what you have to do, it's better to travel accompanied. Now, and you have to develop this consciousness. All of us have a guardian angel, they call when we're here, our higher self, who is with us all the time, preparing us. And some of us are in contact with the higher self, some are not. Some are going to be in contact with their higher selves, we don't know. But they said to me, don't ever travel on your own. Always be guided by your higher self. And I've taken that advice. People have said, oh, we travel in the astral fields. And I said, okay, that's fine. You travel in the astral fields, that's your business. But me, I only go where I'm accompanied and where I'm invited. And if I'm not invited, I don't go.
I'm kind of a rogue when it comes to that. I kind of smash down walls and break down doors and say, I kind of command this to come back, but I'm not careful. Oh dear, beautiful. Thank you guys all for being here. We had an amazing conversation. What is Alan says, I have a good experience with Chastity and Armand for help with retrievals. Oh, thank you. I thought you were going to say something about me like getting strangled or something. Just because, I don't take no for an answer and I don't negotiate. So, oh dear. Thank you. Any last minute comments, Colin, that you want to toss out there?
No, it's been a good session. I'm really glad that I could do that. I have some information that's really weird in the sense that it's not common knowledge. But like I said, the information that I bring is holistic. So you can't compartmentalize it. It's all about the way the universe works. And like your body is many parts, many systems within it, many organs, many artery system, a heart that pumps, and it's got many parts, but it's one body. And in a sense, that's the information I bring is one body, has many parts to it, many organs, but I explain how all these parts connect to each other. And so the Stargates to me are not like the be-all and end-all subject to know about, because, it's just the way the universe works. So it must be held together with all the other information, time, space, and timelines, the multidimensional nature of the universe, the mechanics of creation, the mechanics of, mastering the hologram. It's like a manual on how a car works, and you have to know all the different parts of the car to be able to drive the car. But it's just one car, So I'd like you to understand Stargates in that perspective, that it's not separate information that you can hold separate from others. It's got to be connected to all the information because it's one system. We are part of that one system, the one soul in the universe. In this universe is just one soul, and we are different parts of the one soul. We are different souls within the one soul with different individuated expressions of that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome, you guys. You're welcome. Thank you each for being here and finding us through the technical difficulties. So we were all designed to be here together, and I love that. Everybody, I hope, heard exactly what they needed to hear today. And I'll put this in a format, an MP3 format, and put it on so people can actually listen to it live since they missed it. But I'll make sure your faces aren't shown just in case. So much love to you guys. It's just been amazing to see you all. And so until next time, see you on the other side.
Bye-bye.
Bye.